Hi guys, so yesterday I showed you how to draw a basic wreath and I promised that I would teach you some variations. So we're going to go ahead and flip on over to a fresh page. We have got our cylindrical object for tracing and I'm going to do a a twig wreath. Y'all better be glad it's not a trig wreath. I was not very good at trig in high school. I'm going to do a twig leaf. Gosh, a twig wreath to start out with. You see a lot of these during this time of year. So we're going to start with tracing the bottom of the wreath itself. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw an offset bow, which I think will look very cute. And if you guys don't know how to draw a bow, I have a tutorial on that on this channel that you can go visit and it'll teach you how it's done. Very easy though. And I'm only going to do a 2-shade bow for today because we have a lot of wreaths to cover. It's, I guess, pun intended, since we're drawing the bows to go on the wreaths. And I'm going to let that layer dry. And then, just like we did with that fir wreath, we're going to draw some branches coming from it. And unlike the fir wreath, we're not going to draw leaves on them. So I'm going to go all the way around my wreath and add little branches here and there. Next, we're going to draw the little holiday berries here and there. And I say holiday berries because they could be holly berries, I guess, but holly berries are poisonous. Maybe they're cranberries. And then we're going to go in with our red marker and we're going to add just a little bit of shading to this ribbon here. And maybe a darker red berry just here and there. Okay, so that is a very basic twig wreath. Twig wreath. For some reason, those two words are so hard to say together. So we're going to do a more difficult one this time. And this time, I am not drawing all the way around my cylindrical object. I'm basically drawing what looks like 2 parentheses. And we're going to have 2 bows. And I'm drawing that round bow that I showed you guys how to do at the end of my bow drawing tutorial. And it's going to have 2 long or some long ribbon tails. And I'm actually going to make this fat one into 2 tails. Since I messed up on it a little bit. And it's always okay to make mistakes. It's learning how to fix them. That's the key. So we're going to shade in this ribbon a bit, leaving some white highlights. And we're leaving the white highlights usually at the very top, the apex of the ribbon. And we're going to draw another. And for this one, I'm just going to draw a big floppy bow. And I'm going to color in the ribbons as well. And then we're going to fill this wreath in with really long twigs or branches that sort of frame the two parentheses we drew. Now I'm going to put in some little bells, and I'm going to do that. I'm grabbing a yellow, and I'm going to try not to get my hands into the wet marker, and I'm just going to add a few festive bells just here and there amongst the branches. And you don't have to do bells, you could do ornaments. I've done tutorials on how to draw both, so whichever you're more comfortable with is a good idea. So we're going to do a small circle of shading on each of the bells. I probably should have grabbed a lighter color than this. This is a pretty deep yellow ochre. If I were doing a large bell, this would be the third color and last color I used on it. And I need to let that dry, so I'm going to go back into the ribbons. And add some shading to the top as well. And then maybe add some much smaller branches coming off. And then finally, I'm going to take a brown, and it might not even show up, just to draw the slit at the bottom of the bells. And that is our second wreath. Now, for some of us, the holidays aren't entirely cold and dark, so I'm going to draw a final wreath with leaves on it. And if you live down here, it could be very early magnolia leaves, or it could be leaves from a satsuma or an orange tree, because those are not only in leaf right now, but they are bearing fruit. So maybe we'll draw a satsuma wreath. So I leave the bottom open, and I drew it with a very light green, and I'm going to fill in the bottom right here, this open spot, with some very light orange circles. I'm going to go around and draw large, darker than this green, but still very light green leaves. To stop with your orange wreath here, you could. It looks really good still at this point, or rather even at this point, but I'm going to add just a few more details. Now my paper is still wet, and you want to keep in mind that if you're going over an area on paper like this is just inexpensive sketch paper, while your marker is still wet, there's a very good chance that you'll start tearing or pilling the paper. So for you guys at home who are doing this kind of leisurely, I would hope, please give your layers time to dry. So I am adding some shadow to the oranges, and then I'm going to go over my leaves with a darker green like this, and we're going to do this really simply. We're just going to do the bottom half of the leaves, get the shadow. So I'm going to go through the entire wreath and do this. A very simple, very cute satsuma wreath. So now we're going to tie all of this sort of together, and I'm going to introduce our next topic. So I'm going to draw a little gingerbread house, and I'm going to have a garland around it. Alright guys, so I have shown you now how to draw 4 wreaths if you include yesterday's demonstration. I've also given you a little hint at what we're going to be drawing tomorrow, and I showed you how you could turn the basic steps for drawing a pine bough or a wreath into a garland. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it useful. I hope you found it helpful. If you're looking for tutorials that are aimed at someone with a little higher skill set, please check out my tutorials playlist rather than my easy art tutorials or my art tutorials for kids playlist. If you're looking for, however, for more easy art tutorials, more tutorials for kids, or if you're interested in learning how to draw yourself and you'd like to be able to make attractive art very easily without having to learn a whole lot beforehand, these playlists are perfect for you. So I'm Becca Hilburn. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope to see you again tomorrow when we're going to draw a gingerbread house. Bye guys!